We live in interesting times. Today's stories. Yellow vests and police clash in Bordeaux. Huge floods hit Australia's Queensland.
Wild up here at the moment. It's water everywhere.
Protesters in Lebanon march against the increase of taxes. Netanyahu announces construction of a new barrier on Gaza border. The 2020 race heats up in Iowa a year before caucuses.
Has made history in terms of bringing people to national prominence.
Cory Booker says why he's entering the 2020 presidential race.
Beginning to believe that too many folks are going to get left out.
The U.S. calls on Venezuela's military to join Guaido's camp.
Me dirijo ante ustedes para informarle que desconozco la autoridad.
The U.S. thaws from an Arctic deep freeze. Plus, ice castles turns Edmonton into a winter wonderland.
Harvest the icicles and build a castle.
Hello everyone, I'm Ace Ramirez, bringing you stories from around the globe. And this is Eagle News, Washington, D.C. Clashes break out between police and yellow vest protesters in the French city of Bordeaux. The latest marches came a day after the France's top court threw out a bid to ban weapons that shoot 40mm rubber projectiles, blamed for a number of serious injuries. France's Yellow Vest movement demonstrated against alleged police violence in rallies across the country Saturday, as lawyers denounced the treatment of protesters in the courts. The latest marches, the 12th in a row, came a day after France's top court threw out a bid to ban weapons that fire 40mm rubber projectiles, blamed for a number of serious injuries. Thousands of protesters took part in a March of the Injured in Paris, calling for a ban on the weapons. One of the movement's leading figures, Jerome Rodriguez, who was hit in the eye at last Saturday's demonstration, was greeted warmly by fellow demonstrators each time he appeared. The marchers gathered for a rally at Place de la République in the city center, where police used tear gas and water cannons to force demonstrators to keep their distance, and clashes broke out with some protesters, some hooded or masked. Antonio, one of the march organizers who had been injured in police action, said, "It's unbearable and unacceptable." He said, "These are injuries which mutilate, which destroy lives, while we are pacifists." A police estimate put the turnout at 10,500 in Paris, but an independent count carried out for the media put the figure at 13,800. An interior ministry estimated put the turnout across France at 58,600, compared with 69,000 the previous Saturday. Meanwhile, a group of 59 lawyers published an open letter on the France Info News website denouncing what they said was harsh treatment of Yellow Vest protesters in the courts. They wrote judgments against demonstrators were rushed without proper respect for their rights. They contrasted the speed of the rulings against their clients with a slow pace of probes into alleged police violence. The IGPN, the body that investigates police abuses, has launched 116 investigations into the conduct of officers during the protests, 10 of them concerning serious eye injuries suffered by demonstrators. Fire and rescue personnel patrol in Townsville after a huge once-in-a-century floods turned streets into rivers and forced thousands to abandon their homes in northeast Australia. Authorities are warning of further downpours over the next few days. Australia's tropical north experiences heavy rains during the monsoon season at this time of the year, but the recent deluge has surged far above normal levels. thousands of residents in the city of Townsville in northeast Queensland were without power, and up to 20,000 homes are at risk of being inundated if the rains continue. Military personnel were delivering tens of thousands of sandbags to affected locals, as Queensland Premier Anastasia Palaszczuk warned residents to be careful. Palaszczuk said, "It's basically not just a 1-in-20-year event. It's a 1-in-100-year event." The Bureau of Meteorology said a slow-moving monsoonal trough was sitting above northern Queensland state, with some areas expected to receive more than a year's worth of rain before conditions ease. The region receives an average of some 2,000 millimeters, or 6.5 feet of rain annually, but some towns were already on track to pass that total. Bureau meteorologist Adam Blazak said the town of Ingham received 506 millimeters of rain in 24 hours between Saturday and Sunday, of which 145 millimeters fell in just 1 hour. Blazak said that with adverse weather predicted to continue for up to 72 hours, some regions could see record-breaking levels of rainfall. Conditions are expected to ease from Thursday, although the weather modeling for the event could change over the week, he added.
Lebanese protesters march in the streets of Badaro towards the Ministry of Finance and Justice, holding torches as they protest against the rise of taxes.
المواطن اللبناني فاقد كل شيء لأنه أمام سلطة فاشلة فاسدة ساقطة لا تؤمن شيء، فطبيعي شو ما بتسأل الشعب اللبناني عن أي وحدة من مقومات الحياة العادية بتلاقيه فاقدها اليوم.
اليوم نحن جينا على مبنى المالية، على مبنى الضرائب، لحتى نقول لا لتجديد الضرائب، ما رح نقبل بقى ندفع أكثر من هيك ضرائب، ولا شعلة النار هي مثل ما هن عم يبلشوا يواجهونا ويحاربونا بزيادة الضرائب، نحن اليوم عم نقول لهم من خلال هيدا شعلة النار نحن كمان أعلناها نحن ما بقى رح نقبل إنه ندفع.
جينا قدام مبنى التفاقة لنطالب في مطلب أساسي هو إنه بدنا نظام ضرائبي تصاعدي جدا، مثل ما مشينا مظاهرة الماضي من وزارة الصحة لوزارة العمل، من وزارة العمل لوزارة الصحة، لنطالب بقانون عمل ونطالب باستشفاء كامل على كل اللبنانيين.
قلة اهتمام والفساد اللي عايشين فيه وما قادرين نوقفه، لأنه كل العالم يعني أكثرية العالم محسوبين على فئات معينة، على أحزاب بالأخص.
During the weekly cabinet meeting in Jerusalem, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu announces a new barrier along the Gaza border and says Israel is prepared to act in Gaza and will continue to act against Iran.
בסוף השבוע התחלנו בהקמת המכשול העילי בגבול עזה. המכשול ימנע חדירת טרוריסטים מעזה לשטחנו מעל פני הקרקע. ולצד זה אני מבקש להבהיר, אם בעזה לא ישמרו על השקט, נדע לקבל החלטות גם בתקופת בחירות ולא נהסס לפעול. באיראן מציינים היום 40 שנה למהפכה האסלאמית, הם מנסים להתהדר בטיל חדש. איראן מצהירה בגלוי על כוונתה להשמיד את מדינת ישראל. יש לי מסר ברור לרודנים בטהרן. אנחנו יודעים מה אתם עושים ואנחנו יודעים איפה אתם עושים זאת. אנחנו נמשיך לפעול נגד איראן בכל הכלים העומדים לרשותנו כדי להבטיח את ביטחון ישראל, כדי להבטיח את עתיד ישראל.
Coming up, the 2020 race heats up in Iowa a year before caucuses. Cory Booker says why he's entering the 2020 presidential race. The U.S. calls on Venezuela's military to join Guaido's camp. The U.S. thaws from an Arctic deep freeze. Eagle News, Washington, D.C. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You are watching Eagle News, Washington, D.C. Democrats are eager to oust President Trump in the next election, and many have already announced they will seek their party's nomination in 2020. 12 months away from the Iowa caucuses, where America's first votes will be cast, the frigid Midwest state is already a hotbed amongst candidates.
Despite bitter cold ravaging several U.S. states, the 2020 presidential race is heating up in Iowa, where Democrats, both renowned and unfamiliar, are seizing early opportunities to engage critically important American voters. 1 full year before the first in the nation voting contest for nominating who will take on incumbent Donald Trump, White House aspirants brave dangerous sub-zero temperatures this week to present their presidential pitch on hallowed political ground. Senator Sherrod Brown of Ohio was among the hopefuls making the pilgrimage, testing a pro-worker theme for a possible campaign. Brown casually worked the room, learning the attendees' names, posing for selfies, denouncing Trump's, quote, phony populism, and deftly switching between football talk and policy priorities, building relationships that could make or break a campaign in the coming year. Brown says he will decide in March whether to run for president.
As mayor of Newark, Cory Booker would get out during snowstorms to shovel the driveways and sidewalks of residents of the New Jersey city. Now, a Democratic senator from the northeastern U.S. state, Booker is planning to bring that personal touch to the 2020 race for the White House.
People in America are losing faith that this nation will work for them. They're beginning to believe that too many folks are going to get left out or left behind. They're beginning to believe that the forces that are tearing us apart are stronger than the forces that bond us together as a people, as a country. I'm running for president because I want to address these issues. We are a nation, the story of who we are. Everybody who's gathered on my front walk here, we are all here because Americans from different backgrounds, different races, different religions, even different political parties stood together, worked together, fought together to make this country stand for something. We're a nation that leads, and we've got to get back to doing that together. So I'm happy to answer any questions you all want, but I'm grateful, seriously grateful, to have you all in Newark. But in many ways, it's right up this street.
The charismatic 49-year-old African-American politician joins what is shaping up to be a crowded Democratic field seeking to take on President Donald Trump next year. Booker's candidacy has raised inevitable comparisons to Barack Obama, America's first black president. Both are gifted orators, community activists, and graduates of prestigious law schools, Harvard for Obama and Yale for Booker. While Obama was raised by a single white mother who frequently struggled to make ends meet, Booker's parents were among the first black executives at computer giant IBM. But his parents had first-hand experience of racism, and Booker recounted one such event in the video announcing his White House bid. He said when he was a baby, his parents tried to move them into a neighborhood with great public schools, but realtors wouldn't sell them a home because of the color of their skin. He said a group of white lawyers who had watched the courage of civil rights activists were inspired to help black families in their own community, including his, and they changed the course of his entire life. Born in the capital, Washington, on April 27, 1969, Booker grew up in an affluent suburb of Newark, where he was a standout high school football player. He attended Stanford University in California, where he cut an imposing 6'3" figure on the football team. He earned a bachelor's degree in political science and a master's degree in sociology at Stanford, before going on to study at Oxford in England as a Rhodes Scholar. In 1998, at 29, Booker became the youngest ever member of the Newark City Council. He ran for mayor of the crime-ridden and racially divided city of around 280,000 in 2002, but lost. He sought the post again in 2006 and won. As mayor, besides personally responding to appeals from constituents for snow removal, Booker launched a crackdown on crime and earned a national profile with his savvy use of social media. He re-elected mayor in 2010. Booker attracted a $100 million investment in the city's ailing schools from Facebook co-founder Mark Zuckerberg. Booker won a special election in 2013 to fill a vacant U.S. Senate seat and was easily re-elected the following year. New Jersey's first black U.S. Senator, Booker has compiled a liberal voting record, advocating a $15 an hour minimum wage, criminal justice reform, and legalization of marijuana. Booker was reportedly on the short list of potential vice presidential candidates drawn up by Democratic nominee Hillary Clinton in 2016. In a bid to burnish his foreign policy credentials, Booker joined the Senate Foreign Relations Committee in 2017. Fluent in Spanish and a lifelong bachelor, Booker, a vegan, would be the first unmarried man elected to the White House since 1884.
A top White House official called Saturday on Venezuela's military to follow the lead of a general who sided with opposition leader Juan Guaido against President Nicolas Maduro.
National Security Advisor John Bolton said in a tweet, and I quote, "The U.S. calls on military members to follow General Yanez's lead and to protect the peaceful protesters supporting democracy." He was referring to Major General Francisco Yanez, who posted a video of himself rejecting Maduro's dictatorial authority and recognizing Guaido, the National Assembly head, as the acting president. Yanez, who is Strategic Planning Director of the Venezuelan Air Force's High Command, is the highest-ranking active-duty officer to turn against Maduro since Guaido declared himself acting president on January 23, promising to organize presidential elections.
A brutal cold spell that paralyzed the U.S. Midwest, freezing water mains, causing power outages, and canceling flights, eased on Friday, with forecasts predicting a rapid thaw. The 2 days of intense cold from the so-called polar vortex that descended on the U.S. Midwest and Northeast will go down in memory for its scenes of winter at its most bitter.
Blocks of ice floated down the river that runs through downtown Chicago. The rushing waters of the Niagara Falls were frozen in some places, and half of the Great Lakes were covered in ice. U.S. media reported as many as 21 weather-related deaths since a snowstorm hit the Midwest early in the week, followed by plunging temperatures Wednesday and Thursday. The National Weather Service said temperature readings were nosing up on Friday and will continue to moderate. The concern, though, turned to the threat of flooding and further stress on already strained infrastructure as the region thawed out. According to the Midwestern Regional Climate Center, the Arctic air mass that veered off its normal polar route broke more than 340 records in communities across a cluster of states. With wind chill factored in, temperatures dropped to as low as negative 64 degrees Fahrenheit in Minnesota, negative 59 Fahrenheit in Wisconsin, negative 58 degrees Fahrenheit in Iowa, and negative 55 in Illinois.
When we come back, Ice Castles turns Edmonton into a winter wonderland. Eagle News, Washington, D.C. will return shortly.
Events happen around us all the time, in our community, in our country, around the world. Events that affect
News, Washington, D.C., I'm Ace Ramirez. What do you do with hundreds of thousands of icicles during winter? Eagle News correspondent Thomas Likeness has the answer. Thomas?
What do you do on a cold winter day in a frozen Canadian city? You go out and you look at some ice. But this ice in Edmonton isn't just any frozen water. It's an architectural wonder. The ice castle you're looking at is built one icicle at a time, all of them hand-placed by ice artists. Here's a bit of history. It was the brainchild of Brent Christensen, who had moved from California to Alpine, Utah 11 years ago. Now, to get his kids outside, he built an ice cave in his yard. That structure proved to be a hit not only with his children, but with youngsters from all over the town. The kids called it the Ice Castle, and the following year, a nearby resort became his new home. Since then, the size of the structure has grown, and the frozen attraction is located in 6 cities across North America, including Edmonton. Brandy Burns, assistant event organizer, says the process begins with the icicles.
So we grow the icicles individually, icicle by icicle. We start when weather permits in December, typically, before we open, and harvest the icicles and build the castle one by one.
She says now it's time to start construction.
We remove them from what they're growing on, and then actual artisans build the castle. Based on training from the person who originally made this patent and design.
Burns says the whole process takes several weeks.
Well, it's very weather dependent. We had a warm December here in Edmonton, so I think it's usually approximately 4 to 6 weeks, but it's extremely weather dependent. There were some days in December where not a lot of progress happened.
The finished structure is a wonder to behold. It features thrones. There are fountains. For the youngsters and oldsters alike, ice slides. LED-lit sculptures are particularly eye-catching, especially at night. And here is one of the many frozen tunnels that visitors can explore. There's even a fire going to warm up by. But what happens if the weather warms up? Organizer Burns says they take no chances.
Our build crew assesses the ice every day, and if ever the castle is deemed unsafe, we do have to close the castle, but otherwise we keep it open right through the warm weather, and but every day it's assessed whether we can be open or closed and what's safe.
Burns says this is a must-see for anyone coming to Edmonton in the winter.
This is a great destination for families, first dates, people visiting from out of the country. It is really exciting. It's lovely to see in the sunshine, in the evening, and in the night. There's lights all built into the ice, and it's gorgeous. So come down to Horlick Park and check it out.
She adds several couples, such as these folks, have had their wedding pictures taken here. After an afternoon of looking at ice in the ice castle in minus 21-degree temperatures, I think I'm ready for some hot chocolate. Thomas I. Likeness, Eagle News. I'm 1 with 25.
That is today's Eagle News, Washington, D.C. Join us tomorrow for stories that matter to you. Visit our websites at Eaglenews.PH and EagleNewsLive.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/EagleNewsPH. Thank you for watching. I'm Ace Ramirez. I'm 1 with 25.